Marjorie sat by the window, the morning light filtering through lace curtains, warming her frail hands folded in her lap. At 84, she had long since grown used to the hush of the empty house. Once filled with the laughter of children, the clatter of dishes, and the deep, steady voice of her husband reading aloud from his evening paper, the house had fallen silent. The solitude had crept in over the years, like ivy threading its way through cracked stone, until loneliness became not just an occasional guest, but a constant companion. It was during one of those long, quiet mornings that Marjorie first confronted the brutal reality that aging can bring a deep and enduring loneliness. After 80, the world seemed to shrink. Friends passed away one by one, some taken by illness, others simply fading into memory. Her children, busy with their own lives, checked in by phone or occasional visits, but there was always the unspoken understanding that their time was limited, rationed between obligations and distance. The days were long, and though Marjorie tried to fill them with books, crosswords, and the hum of the radio, she could not escape the profound absence of regular human connection. The second cruel reality came wrapped in the ticking of the clock. Time seemed to slow and drag, stretching the hours into a silent canvas. When she was younger, there had always been something to do. Work to be done, people to see, events to attend. But now, entire afternoons would slip by with only the sound of a passing car or the soft purr of the cat for company. Marjorie found herself waiting for phone calls that didn't come, staring at the calendar where days blurred together without distinction. She sometimes napped out of sheer boredom, waking to find the same dull light stretching across the walls, as though time itself was mocking her isolation. A third, even sharper reality revealed itself during holiday seasons, when memories of past gatherings haunted the empty rooms. Family celebrations no longer felt like celebrations, but rather reminders of her own detachment from the lives of those she loved. The grandkids had grown up, busy with college and new jobs, their visits reduced to hurried drop-ins or brief, distracted conversations over the phone. The laughter of children that had once echoed through the house was now a distant memory. Holidays became something to endure rather than enjoy. The joy of preparing a feast, of wrapping gifts, of gathering around a bustling table, those traditions now belong to the past. The fourth reality struck during an unremarkable Tuesday afternoon. Marjorie sat at her kitchen table, a pile of letters and bills spread before her, her reading glasses slipping down her nose. Maintaining independence became an uphill battle. Tasks that had once been second nature, balancing a checkbook, remembering appointments, even walking to the corner store, now seemed daunting. Pride kept her from asking for help, but there were times when she couldn't deny that the world had become more complicated, and she felt left behind. Her hands trembled as she tried to write checks, her eyes strained to read small print. She resented the technology that seemed to replace human interaction with apps and automated systems she couldn't understand. Every small obstacle reminded her that her independence, something she had cherished her entire life, was slipping away. And then there was the fifth reality, perhaps the hardest of all. The loneliness was compounded by an increasing invisibility. At 84, Marjorie noticed how she had become almost unseen in the world. People in shops spoke past her, clerks were impatient, and conversations often excluded her. Even at family gatherings, she found herself sitting quietly, listening to the younger ones talk over her, as though her presence was ornamental rather than essential. This invisibility gnawed at her sense of self. She felt as though she had become a ghost in her own life, present but unseen, her voice unheard. But even as these 5 brutal truths loomed over her, Marjorie found small ways to reclaim her sense of purpose. She began volunteering at a local charity, stuffing envelopes and knitting blankets for those in need. It wasn't much, but it gave her a sense of connection, however modest. She made a point of calling her old friends, those few who still answered, to share memories and laughter. She even started writing in a journal, documenting her thoughts and the moments of beauty she still found. A sunrise, a favorite song, the scent of her garden's last rose. One evening, as dusk settled and the streetlights flickered on, Marjorie sat with her journal, reflecting on her life. She acknowledged the loneliness, the long hours, the fading independence, and the quiet erasure she sometimes felt in public spaces. But she also recognized that These were not the sum of her existence. She was still here, still thinking, still finding ways to connect with the world around her. She understood that aging meant facing losses, yes, but it also meant finding resilience in small moments of joy and connection. The next morning, she called her daughter, not just to hear her voice, but to make plans. "Let's have lunch next week," she said, her voice steady. Her daughter hesitated, caught off guard, but then agreed. It was a small victory, but one that mattered. Marjorie knew the realities of life after 80 were harsh. The loneliness could be crushing. Time could be both too fast and too slow. Family could drift away. Independence could slip through her fingers. And the world could grow blind to her presence. But she also knew that within those hard truths, there was room for stubbornness, for reaching out, for refusing to disappear entirely. As the sun rose higher, she closed her journal and looked out the window at the quiet street. Her cat leapt into her lap, purring softly. She stroked its fur and whispered, "We're still here, aren't we?"